Hi everybody, welcome back to Tarot 101. Welcome back to Secret Garden Tarot. If this is your first time here, welcome. Everybody is always welcome. This is going to be a little bit of a different series. We're still going to do the monthlies and the zodiac readings, but this is a little different. If this is, again, your first time here, welcome. Everybody's always welcome. We're going to take a quick look at the suits and, the imagery in them and just my interpretation of the cards. And this week we're going to start with the fire signs. This is the Wands week. They represent the fire signs of Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. Wands represent inspiration, creativity, passionate feelings, just passion in general. They are the spark of life. Wands are often illustrated as wooden, so wood burns, so you want to think of it that way. And I will be referring to these as wands because we are using as our example the traditional Rider-Waite, and they refer to them as wands, as you can see here in the ace. However, they can be called clubs, staves, staffs, scepters, rods, but since this is kind of the standard terminology, that's what we'll be doing. Also, it's a good time to look at the imagery of each of the decks. So I do have some examples of my other decks. Most readers will have more than one deck. Some do not. That is a completely personal preference. I have more than one deck, and I enjoy getting clarification from the other decks and reading from them. But again, just as an example, this is the traditional Rider-Waite. If you are new to tarot, this is the deck that you want to start with. This is the oldest. It's the most standardized. But again, we have, just as an example, this is the Morgan Greer Tarot, and you can see while the imagery is still basically the same, we have far more leaves. There are no mountains or no castle in the back here. This is the Gilded Tarot, and as you can see, that is lit, and I often refer to them as the matches. So the Ace of Wands is often, I call it the match. It's what sparks. So this is my little mini tarot deck. This is again the Ace of Wands, and it's depicted as a pencil. This is my Russian tarot. It's the Ace of Clubs in this deck. And then this is the Muka Tarot. So again, still very similar imagery, almost identical imagery. However, the leaves are falling. You have this lovely border. So you want to take a look at the way the illustrations are laid out. The meaning is usually about the same. Here, I'll just take this and I'll show you here. The meanings are always going to be the same, but the details might be very interesting. Just to take a quick look. I'll set them up this way so you can see. The aces are usually depicted in the upright position, at least for the wands. And again, we're going to use the wands. But how are they used potentially? This one actually is my favorite Ace of Wands because, again, I like to think of the Ace of Wands as a match. And this one is actually already lit. The others only have potential to be lit. And aces are universally seen as originating. This one's very unique. I didn't realize this until I started setting up for this, that it is a pencil, but it's a blank page. So still representing that potential. And how you choose to use it. Will it be used defensively, productively, aggressively, for good or for not good. So that's, something to take a look at as you're purchasing your own decks, as you're looking through other decks. So it depends on how they're illustrated and how you interpret each of those. Some of these people, some readers would just say the Ace of Wands is the Ace of Wands and there's nothing new under the sun. But if you look closely, there are, again, those smaller details that can help you interpret more information out of the reading. It can help you get more information. And is it being grasped? This one, obviously, like I said, the Gilded Tarot is my favorite Ace of Wands in all of the decks that I have, because it's lit, but he hasn't grabbed it. So it has that potential energy. All the other ones don't have that fire, but they are still holding them. And this one, again, it's kind of the unwritten page. It is information that hasn't been utilized yet. So that's just something interesting to look at, and we'll look at more of that next week when we get into, or the next reading, the next session, when we're looking at the swords, and specifically the Aquarian star card. Next week will be the swords, and I'll look more deeply into that. There's some interesting things. If you look deeply at the cards and you look at them, especially when you're comparing them to different versions of themselves, it's very different. There are slight differences, but they can be very, very interesting. Going forward, the Two of Wands, it's forward progress. It is representative of optimism. Two is greater than one. It also can represent a fork in the road. It means, I don't know if you can look here, he is holding the world, but still holding on to the staff. So he's still holding on to, at least in part, to his past. So we have the past off to the left. We have the future, which he hasn't fully grasped onto. It is still bolted in place, so it actually hasn't happened yet. This is a card of optimism. This is a card of at least a little bit of forward progress. And we'll get to that when we get to we'll see a little bit more progress, I should say, when we get to the Three of Wands. This is more progress. This is, the ships are coming in. This is more maturing energy, but you'll notice he's still holding on to that far right-handed wand. So he still is being supported by his past, or in some cases held back by his past. So that's often called he's looking off onto the horizon. This is water over here, and you can look very, very closely that here and here and here are ships off in the horizon. So those ships are either going out, or I like to think of them as coming in. So your ships are coming in. It just takes a while. I made not really a script. I've been trying to do scripts for these, and I just made some notes. So if I kind of stumble and speak out of turn, bear with me. I'm trying something new. The Four of Wands. It's often described as the 1111 card. These four staves or staffs or wands are holding up that swag of flowers. This is obviously a celebration. They're dancing, they're celebrating, they're in their best clothes. There's people off in the corners. So a lot of people will read this as the soulmate card. Obviously, there's fruit of abundance. These are fig leaves and grape leaves and ribbons or celebratory ribbons. It can indicate marriage or another committed relationship, but definitely something worth celebrating, something that is a goal. Not that a committed relationship is everyone's goal, but it is something to celebrate. the Five of Wands. Now, this is an interesting card. A lot of readers will read this as strife or disagreements, but in some cases, it is the fight that must be fought. It's practice for something larger. You should be using this time. Is this almost like sparring? This is the practice round. This is the working hard, because you can notice that while they're fighting, they're not doing a ton of damage. They could be certainly be doing more damage, but they're not really, fighting in a way. This is almost like play fighting. So they are working towards a peaceful resolution. They're negotiating. Let's put it that way. They are almost could be building something like a barn raising, but not in a very organized way, because again, it is the Five. It is that kind of middle ground energy. The Six, on the other hand, is great news. It's victory. It is the minor arcana Chariot. He's riding in a procession. He has his laurel wreath. He has the wreath of victory, again, with those celebratory ribbons. And again, you have to think in terms of maybe a few centuries ago what the imagery of that would mean. This is the granddaddy of the ticker tape parade. When the ball team wins the big game, they have the big parade. That's what this is. They have returned from battle. These are the victorious warriors. They bring great news. They bring the spoils of war. And this is something that they have earned. They have earned these accolades. The Seven of Wands is a little less celebratory. It is a defensiveness card. It is a card of defending yourself and defending your ground, standing your ground. He does have the high ground. You'll notice the people are down underneath the card, and these are just the very, very tops of their wands in this case. So he has the high ground. He is defending himself. He has made his points, and he's in the right. He has, again, that upper hand. He is the warrior. So maybe that's what you were preparing for. This is the battle that you were preparing down here at the Five. So that's something to keep in mind, that all of these cards are built up numerically. The Eight of Wands is about communication, messages coming at you, fast incoming information. And this card actually has changed. Like I said before, there's nothing new under the sun. This card is the exception. As we've moved into the information age, this card has come to represent social media, text messaging, email, that kind of instant information, that kind of 24-hour news stream energy. But there's a lot of information that is inaccurate, what we've come to know now as fake news. There's a lot of information coming at you. Remember, there's a few things to remember about this card. Don't believe everything you hear. Don't take everything at face value. There's 8 wands here. We don't know if all of them have accurate information. We know that they're all coming in. We know that they're all coming in quickly. But it's also a reminder to do your own research. Just don't take everything at face value. They're coming a distance. And if you've ever played that old game of telephone, messages get garbled the further out they run. So make sure that you're doing your own research. Be prepared for a lot of information, like a download of information. But take your time, think these through. This is information that can come right at you, right into your face. Take your time with this. With this card, it can be, again, that love bomb text messaging. So take your time with this information. The Nine of Wands is the small break before the last push. It's indicating that you were almost there. A lot of readers will read him as the wounded warrior, and he's got his bandages. He's looking around suspiciously, like, where's the next attack coming from? He's tired, but still, there's still fight left in him. He doesn't know where it's coming from. He's built up his armor. He's built up this defensive wall behind him. So be aware of that information. So there is, means you're prepared for more that may or may not come still. This is leading to the 10. So he has gathered up his defensive wall. That means the stresses are coming to an end. This song I always hear, whenever I see this card, I hear that song, better keep your head up. Plus, don't give up. You are closer to the end than you think. Stresses are coming to an end. The burdens are ending. It's a 10, so it's a completion. He's very, very close to the town. All he has to do is cross that little road. Those sticks are wands, staves, clubs, whatever you want to call them, are very heavy. Wood, he's gathering up the firewood. He's about to light that spark, leading right back to, if I can find it, leading it right back to that ace. Or more importantly, this version of the ace. He's about to light the fire. He's about to move forward. He's about to take action. Something is closing for him. All right, on to the court cards. And this time we are going to read the king and the queen individually. Their energy is very, very similar. But we're going to start with Paige, and he is my happy little hippie. He is my wanderer. He is my traveler. He is the guy that'll say things like, oh, you want to come to Burning Man with me? You want to come to Coachella with me? That's this guy. Energy is younger. He's full of energy. He is just rearing to go. But you have to slow down and ask yourself, and I guess that's the overall energy of the wands is it's coming at you quick. So maybe take your time, maybe have a little bit more of that balanced pentacles energy. Take your time, slow down. You have to ask yourself, he's my yeah but guy. He's a good guy, yeah, but is he reliable? He's messy. He's a bit of a mess. He's a good guy, but he's a bit all over the place. He's fun, but yeah, he might forget that he brought you out to Coachella. So that's this guy. And then that brings us to the knight, one step up from the page. He is the Knights of Passion. He is the Knight of Passion. But bear in mind, he is a wand. He's that quick-moving, flash-in-the-pan energy. That might be all you get out of him, or a few nights. He is representative of short-term goals. He's got the fast car, the power job. He can be, on the flip side of that, all the negativity that comes with that. Shallow, self-absorbed, self-obsessed. Like the page, the knight, and we'll get to the king in a minute, can get easily distracted. He's kind of all over the place. He represents, in reading, he can represent upheaval. You'll notice that horse is at a full-on gallop. He is moving. He always represents movement, always represents progress, but he also can be kind of unstable and this kind of upheaval energy. Think of him as Sir Lancelot. He is Richard the Lionheart. He's the crusader. I'm going to go over there and fix that problem. I'll see you in 2 years. That's this guy. So if that's something that you're into, if that's the energy, if you're a free spirit like that, this is the energy that you live in and that you thrive in and you work for, and it works for you. Not everybody is in that boat. So be mindful of that. This is my Sir Lancelot. He is the champion, but he's a lot of people's champions. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to get to the king and the queen. These are the queen is my optimist, but she's also a realist. You'll notice she's sitting down. She's got her feet firmly planted on this base. She is prepared but she's looking off into the distance. So she is that Bob Marley quote. Every little thing is going to be all right, but she's prepared if it isn't. The way I think of these, at least here in the United States, we have the four corners of the United States, all very different energy. If you want to think about the north, south, east, and west of the compass, she is my southern belle. She is all about beauty and slowing down. She's learned that it's far better to have a roaring fire and a hearth than a firework. She is the southern belle. She's the one who sits down and says, well, hang on a second. She's the belle. She's the one who lived, that Georgian belle. Let's put it that way. If you're familiar with the United States, you know what I'm getting at. Whereas the Pentacles are more of that East Coast energy, that New York, time is money, I can do 1,000 things in a New York minute. That's the Pentacles energy. Los Angeles is more of that cup energy. Well, tell me how you feel. Well, how did that make you feel when they did that? Let's sit down. Let's have a cup of tea. That's the more of that West Coast energy. That's that watery cup energy. The New Englanders are where all those old Ivy League colleges are. They're more intellectual. Let me tell you what my education leads me to believe. That's that energy. And we'll get to that when we talk about the swords. The king has grown up from both the page and the knight. But he still is a wand. He is still seated. His feet are firmly on the ground, but he still gets easily distracted. He's grown up to know that you need to finish things to prosper. The knight and the page will be the guy with a house full of rooms that are half painted, and they're all different colors. 3 walls are painted, one's blue, one's gray, one's black, half painted, paint pots still sitting out, old dried up brushes. That's the energy you'll get from the knight and the page. The king might still only have 3 walls painted, but they're all the same color. So he has progressed. He's far more practical, but he is still a wand. He is still that fiery, passionate energy, so he still might be a bit distracted. The queen also gets a little bit distracted. But again, they are... this knight doesn't even have any feet on the ground. He's in full gallop. And the page is kind of staring off into space. So they have grown up. But they are not flighty, but easily distracted. They've got a lot going on. They've got families to run and businesses to run and passion projects to produce. But they know enough that you have to finish first. You must finish in order to finish first. Let's put it that way. Let's use that old NASCAR analogy. First you must finish to finish first. That slow down to speed up energy. All right, family. Hopefully you got something out of this, and I'll see you with your swords reading and your interpretations, and then we'll move on to the major arcana, and then I'll see you for your January readings. Those are right around the corner. Bye, family. I'll see you later. Bye.